All right, let's talk about food. So the easy part of getting to your fitness goals generally is the exercise. As hard as the exercise can be for people, right? It's easier than taking care of the nutrition. The example or the analogy I like to use is like a fire, right? Exercise, they're basically logs, right? Without the lighting those logs on fire, we're not getting anywhere, right? So you need that exercise generally to reach your goals, but the food is the fire. Without that, you're not going to lose weight, gain strength, put on muscle, or be generally healthy, right? And we see it all the time. People try to improve in running and they run. If they don't take care of their nutrition, right? Even if it's not a weight loss thing, even if it's just, I want to be faster, they struggle to improve. So we need to address food. And rest assured that 99.9% of the nutrition stuff you heard is probably nonsense, right? Including cows. And this is the quick example that I always like to use to show how crazy our nutrition ideas are. So a calorie is a unit of energy, right? And it's a very specific unit of energy. It is the amount of energy you needed to raise 1 kilogram of water by 1 degree Celsius. That's what we call a kcal or a food cal. When you see that there's 500 calories in something, that's what that is, right? And it may seem weird that we use that particular unit of energy to determine how much fuel we get from our food, but we do that for a very specific reason. And that's because of how we measure the calories in our food, right? We do this by putting the food in what's called a bomb calorimeter, which is essentially a sealed container, put the food in, and that sealed container sits inside another sealed container that's filled with water. We then, and I'm being dead serious here, light the food on fire, burn it, measure the resulting increase in the water temperature, right? And that's how we determine how many calories are in our food. Now, you don't need a degree in biology or a background in biology to understand that that's not how the body uses fuel, right? It's a very silly way to go about it, but it's very accepted. And that shows you like how little we know and how little we question about nutrition, right? So it's important that we start to do this. Now, there are some ways to do it. It's a very long explanation to start to understand some nutrition stuff, or at least get a working model, right? We basically live on a few principles. One, make habit changes slowly over time, right? And we'll talk more about that in the habit guide that comes up. Two, eat real food, right? People all the time, I eat clean. What's clean, right? So there's a food guide coming out. Eat real food. It's meats, it's vegetables, it's fruits, it's starchy tubers. That's a potato or a sweet potato, like some nuts, some healthy fats, right? The rest of the stuff needs to be highly processed in order to be eaten. And so we eat things that we normally would eat without having to be processed, that we've been eating for the longest period of time, right? Now, we have to modify that to some degree based on what goals are, right? Eating for strength gains is different than eating for fat loss. Fat loss, essentially, we eat from all those groups and take a look at the little chart you got, right? You'll see lists of everything. We try to maintain under 100 grams of carbohydrates a day and then work our way to 50 until we're at the leanness we want to be, right? A lot of this, though, will depend on who you are, right? One of the biggest problems that we address with nutrition is what's called fructose malabsorption or fructose intolerance, meaning I can't digest fructose. And if you Google that, there's a scary list of symptoms that looks a lot like the suffering that we endure in modern life. So everybody's varied in how much they can digest on that, right? And generally keeping it under 50 grams a day, carbohydrates total, limits our fructose, which is really what we need to limit. And that seems to help absolutely most with weight loss. Now, if we're eating for general health, essentially we can eat from this list and just eat when you're hungry. That's really all this requires. Now, there are some more advanced techniques we can use when we're talking about general health, but like first we want to get food quality under control, and then we can move on from that. When we talk about strength, that's a whole other ball game that involves really eating as much as we can, especially if we're already lean, which is great, and actually putting a ton of protein on it. This might be a place where we can add kind of a protein shake and things like that. But if you have a desire to really put on some size and some strength, come talk to a coach, and we'll sit you down and give you some specifics on that, right? Now, it's important. This is a basic guideline on how to do it. Pair this with the habit guide that's coming up, and you could have great success. If you need more accountability, right? And if you look at the research, having more accountability, having somebody to check in with every week is super effective to actually sticking with what you're trying to do. We offer nutrition coaching where we can custom design your program and then check in with you at regular intervals and update that program as needed to make sure that we're on the right track, right? And help you take care of the nutrition, which is super crucial.